Good morning, welcome to Furry and Spoilt. Today I'm going to talk to you about how I train my dogs to come when called. It's very important that your dog comes to you. Even if you don't walk your dog off lead, even if you walk your dog on the lead all the time, it's just really important in the house, just when you're out and about. You never know if you're going to accidentally drop the lead or some danger just going to come. It's just a good thing. So I'm just going to go through you the things that I do so that my dogs come when they're called. Right, so the first thing is you have to be exciting and interesting to your dog so that he knows when you call him, something good is going to happen. And you can do that with these. So it's a reward. So I can't actually say the word because my dogs know the word and will all come running if I say it. But it's these things, TREATS, the things you give your dog when they've done something good. And I use these, and they are a cat treat, and they're dreamies, and they are so tiny. Look how tiny they are. Smell really good, and there's not a lot to it, so it doesn't matter because when you're training a dog, you can sometimes end up giving them quite a lot of treats. The other thing I use is there's a treat called Sizzler that I use, and it breaks up into tiny pieces. But more importantly, it smells really strong, and so it's really important that you get your reward that you're going to give them. Get it to be really, really good so that they really want it and that they always come to it when you call them. Right, so before I start training a dog outside to come, I start indoors where it's nice and safe. So if your dog doesn't come when you call them, I would never let them off the lead because it's too dangerous. Apart from the fact that there could be traffic and stuff like that. But even if you're somewhere where there's no traffic, there could be an aggressive dog around. So you just never know. So I personally never let a dog off the lead until I know they are going to come back when I call them. And so I start that training indoors. So I'm going to show you now where I'm just indoors. I'm just in my kitchen doing my thing. And I call my boys in and they all come. And I do that a couple of times a day. And I just do it throughout the house. So I've got little bags of rewards dotted around the house, and I just call them in a couple of times, 2, 3, 4 times a day or whatever, and they will just come running and they'll associate you calling them with them getting a reward, and that's how I always start my training. Boys, come! There we go, good boys, good boys. Good boys, Humps. There we go. Good boys. So they all came. I don't do a big woohoo and make a great big deal out of it. Just call them in, give them their treat. And I just do that a couple of times a day. And it just gets them used to being called in and a good thing happening. Something else I do when I'm training my dogs to come back to me. So before they've got to the point where I can let them off the lead and come back, while we're walking along, I train them to come. So we're just walking along here on a normal lead. As you can see here, Harry's sniffing away, but I'll call him in. Harry, come! And give him a really nice, lovely treat. Good boy! Yay! Good boy! And then that's another way to teach them before they're at the point where you can actually let them off. Just call them in as you're walking along on your lead, and it just starts the training process. So when I'm out, so I've got 3 dogs. And so there's 2 things I do. I train them to come individually to their name. So this is Harry, and you're going to see a video now of where I call him in. The video actually got cut off right at the beginning, so you don't catch me calling his name. But I give a very clear, Harry, come. And you'll see that he comes running. Now, you'll see the other dogs come running as well, because they've learned that if one dog gets called in, that means I'm giving out treats. But you'll see how I called him in, and it's just if something happened and I just needed him to come. It doesn't matter that the others will come, but the thing is, if he was doing something that I didn't want him to do, I could call him in. But it's just one dog name and a name. So nice and clear, Harry, come. And you'll see, when he comes, I give really high-pitched reward. It's very high-pitched. It's really quite irritating. But it's high reward to the dog, and dogs love that. Dogs love it when you get excited and you're bouncing about and you're all happy. They love that, and so that you'll see in this video, that's what I've done. Come. Good boy. Yay, good boy. He's a good boy. So after I've taught them to come in individually, I teach them to come in as a pack. And so that command is very clear. Boys, come. They see no one's reacting because of the tone I'm saying it in. If I went high pitched, these would all be waking up, they'd all be alert, and they'd all be looking at me. And you've seen in the video in the house, and you'll see in a minute in a video, that I say boys come, and that's just because that's how I refer to them. And again, so I call them in, and they all come in, and you'll see Humps at the back, little Humps here. He comes in, he's a little bit slower than the others, which is just absolutely fine. He's our nude rescue dog. But it's a very clear boys, when I need them all to come in, then it's boys come, and they all come in. And again, you'll see they all get a reward, and then I do high pitched happiness, and you'll see that in the video now. Good boys, woohoo, good boys, good boys, good boys, yay, good boys. Another thing that I always do is, when I'm training the dog to come back to me, it's important to call your dog back to you, but then let them go, because they will very soon learn that if they come back to you, they get put on the lead and the walk end, and they won't come back to you. So you need to make sure that you call them in and just let them go. And do you know what? Sometimes if you've been calling your dog in and he's been ignoring you, so you might be like not best happy about that. But if he comes to you, as hard as it is, you have to let him go sometimes, because otherwise he's just going to learn. He comes to you, lead goes on, walk ends, and he's not going to come to you. So as silly as that sounds, it's something that I always do. Call them in, give them a treat, let them go. Call them in, give them a treat, and let them go. Something else you can do when you're training is you can get what's called a long line. Now, don't get this mixed up with an extendy lead. It is not like a lead that extends as the dog pulls out. That's an extension lead. This is a long line, and it's a training product, and it is a really, really, really long lead. They're quite hard to handle, really, but it's basically a lead, but it's really, really long. The idea is that you can let your dog off, and then if he doesn't come back, you can pick up the lead, because it's so long. You can pick up the lead, and then you can pull him back in. When I say pull, I don't mean hard, but you can pull him back in. And if he's just completely ignoring you, you have the lead, you can get to him. And they are really, really useful. If you've got to the point where your dog's he's not quite there yet, but almost there. So he's a little bit unreliable. So let's say if he's unreliable, and I use them, especially with German Shepherds that I've had, I found they've been very, very useful. And because you can either stand on them if the dog's not listening to you, and it just stops them from carrying on. Although with a German Shepherd you can't, because you get flung in the air. But they're just very good. So that's just called a long training line, if your dog's not quite reliable yet. That's actually all my tips for my comebacks and how I get my dogs to come back. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. See you in the next video. Bye bye.